Okay, so I've been procrastinating this video for quite a while, but I'm finally getting to it. I'm basically just making this video to break down some of the new magic frame stuff. You can tell a lot of it by just watching the video, but there's some stuff that the video doesn't show that I think are important to note, and also just to clarify some things. Initially, I was intending on making this video a lot longer and explaining everything from the very basics, like how frames work, how the timer works, how ability activation works, frame skips, damage windows and all that. But I figured if you're watching this, you probably already know about all of those. So I'm just gonna keep this video short. If you do want to see something like that, where I explain everything for beginners to understand as well, just like leave a comment. I might make it. So yeah. If you're watching this video and you don't know what magic frames are for some reason at all, I'm just gonna briefly summarize it. Basically, lych, whenever it hits a skull, it has a 6-second invulnerability time, plus 1 frame that the game takes to calculate the damage before lych actually gets damaged. So basically, you can only damage lych once every 6 seconds and 1 frame. And a magic frame was a strat that was found where you can damage lych 1 frame earlier. So essentially you just save that 1 frame. So yeah, that's what a magic frame is. And I'm going to be using last week's run mostly as reference, because obviously that's where most of the stuff happened. Yeah, and I'm just covering this over here because it shows my name. So yeah. Tier 1, nothing really happened. I know that you can get a magic frame on tier 1. White Knight got it, but I don't know how, and I'm too lazy to ask. He didn't tell me during the week when the runs were still going on. But yeah, I missed this magic frame here. Yeah, but nothing new here. Tier 2 is where the nightmare starts. My run was 23 hours, and tier 2 on its own took me 13 hours, and I didn't even end up getting it. Like, I didn't end up getting the maximum amount of magic frames. So let me just break this down. So I think this is tier 2. So tier 1 ended on 36.11, so the first frame that lych gets damaged should be 39.16. So let me find. Alright, so as you can see, 39.16 lych gets damaged and then spawns a lych soul. So this first skull is just, all old stuff, nothing new. I use lych soul to get the magic frame right over here. So 45.16 magic frame, otherwise it would be 45.18. And then next frame, there's nothing new. I mean, next skull, there's nothing new. It's just 51.18. There's no way to get a magic frame here. So this is just normal. It doesn't have to be a frame perfect timing. And then after here, there's Moabs that spawn on round 60. And this is where some of the new stuff comes in. You can tell, you probably already was able to tell by watching the video before, but you can get magic frames from chain Moabs as well as the lych soul. So basically, any lych spawns are able to get magic frames as long as they're killed by the same ability that ends up dealing damage to lych on the same frame. So as you can see, chain Moabs are spawning up here. I bought some stalling stuff, but I'll explain why later. So now it should be 57.18. This video isn't the best example because I actually missed. I skill issued this one 1 frame late, 57.20. This is one of the reasons why it took me 13 hours of trying and I never got it, because out of all of the abilities that you use, except for this skull over here, or yeah, this skull over here, the middle skull, every other ability had to be frame perfectly timed. This one is the only one that could be within a window of 3 frames, because that's how long the abilities are active for. So yeah, 5 out of 6 of the abilities had to be frame perfect, which is insane. I think in the 13 hours I only got it 2 or 3 times where all 5 of the abilities were frame perfect, but I lost those runs because of RNG, and I'll explain why later. But anyways, so 57.20. So that one obviously wasn't magic frame, but that was my fault. So 103.20 should be the next one. I got a magic frame on this one, as you can see. Same frame. Activate the ability on 103.18, which is the window that you have to press the hotkey. And then 103.20 is the first frame that the ability actually activates, and as you can see, it killed the chain Moabs that were there before, and it deals damage to Lich. You know, so obviously it works. And then chain Moabs spawn again, and then 109.20 is another magic frame right over here. And it kills the Moab that was over here, that was part of the round, which also ends the round at the same time. So the other big new thing besides finding out the chain Moabs work is that previously, before this week, everyone thought that you could only do 1 magic frame per tier, because CGen tested it and those were his results, and I wasn't sure about that because I didn't think it made sense, which now that I think about it, there was no reason for me to think it didn't make any sense, because Ninja Kiwi is absolutely atrocious at coding. But you know, after some of my own testing, I figured out that you can in fact get more magic frames per tier. But after going through tier 2, I think you can tell that 4 magic frames are possible in total. I only got 3. I would love to see someone get 4. It's absolutely insane because of the RNG as well, and I'll go over the RNG right now. But yeah, let me just put this back over here. So I think it's this video. Yeah. So this video, as you can see, let me get. Alright, so this video, again, same thing. This is just the random skull that didn't need to be frame perfect, 51.18, same thing. But this run, I ended up getting the magic frame on the skull that I missed in the run in my video. As you can see, 57.18, I got the magic frame here, which is, you know, clearly it's possible. So this skull is possible to magic frame. And then, you know, obviously next one, this one also magic frame. I don't know what the, never mind. Okay, let's just keep going. But this is one of the RNG aspects. This video right here isn't the best example because I had like 1 terabyte of footage and I didn't want to scroll through all of them, so I just found this one. But basically, sometimes when you use the Tech Terror / Anti-Balloon ability, since before, as I already stated, it kills Lich with the exact same ability that it kills the last Moab. That ends the round. Sometimes, I don't know what the circumstances are for this, but sometimes, even if you get the frame perfect ability that would normally allow you to get a magic frame, sometimes the round would end first and the game would lag, skip like 10 frames, and Lich would take 0 damage. So this run isn't the best example because I was 1 frame late on this. As you can see, it's 109.18 already. The ability should already be active, so I was 1 frame late. But as you can see, I'm gonna go next frame a few times. It freeze frames on 9.18, which means that this is the frame that I activated the ability, which means that the first frame of the ability would have been on 9.20, so I was 1 frame late. This is actually why on this run particularly, the round ended before Lich took damage, because I didn't get the magic frame. But I don't have the evidence for this again because I had too much footage and I'm not going to waste 3 hours looking through it. But I swear to God, even if you get the timing correctly and you get, you know, the frame perfect timing for the magic frame, sometimes it'll still end the round first. So as you can see, it'll freeze for quite a while, and then, you know, I just played the video over there because sometimes VLC media player kind of is retarded. But as you can see, it'll like freeze for quite a while, and then Lich takes 0 damage. I don't know why. Again, this is technically it should have taken damage at 109.21, but it just ended up skipping that, and it just takes no damage. So that's part of the RNG. One of the 2 or 3, I mean, shit. The 2 or 3 runs, I don't remember exactly, the 2 or 3 runs that I stated before where I was able to get all 5 abilities to be frame perfect, I ended up losing those runs to this RNG right over here. I activated the ability on 109.16, which means that the first frame of the ability would have been on 109.18, which would have magic framed, but it ended up frame skipping to the next round. So this is part of what makes this tier so hard. It's not like impossibly difficult RNG, because it's not like it's like 1 in 100 chance for it to work properly. You know, as you can see in my run that I ended up taking, I ended up getting the magic frame. I would say it's probably something like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4, just from my experience. Because whenever that happened, I would clip the run and then look back at the video to see if, you know, I got the timing on that one or not. But I'm just gonna give a rough estimate that I think the RNG is like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4. I tried stalling the round so that the Moab doesn't, you know, get hit by the anti-balloon, because I thought maybe if the round doesn't end, it wouldn't have this problem. But there's nowhere you can actually put the anti-balloon for that to happen, right? Because as you saw in my main run, for the last anti-balloon, I put it on this plot over here, you know, just in case maybe it would not kill the thing at the entrance, which I did find was a bit more consistent, but it still killed the Moab at the entrance. Again, I don't know why. I'm not gonna test too much further into this, but yeah, there's nowhere you can put the anti-balloon. If you put the anti-balloon, you know, it doesn't fit down here. If you put it over here, it'll still hit the entrance. If you put it over here, it won't hit Lich. If you put it up here, it will probably miss the Moabs that are down here, and it'll still kill the Moab up here. You know, there's just no way to avoid this. Maybe if there was a better map, we could avoid this issue, but, you know, this map, it's just like this. We're just gonna have to cope with the RNG. So that's that. The other thing that I wanted to show about this is up here with this clip. So this one, I wanted to show this. This is the other RNG aspect, which I think might be linked to the one I just showed with the round end. But again, I don't know for sure, and I'm not gonna test this too much further because, you know, this tier has traumatized me enough already. But let me just show you. So this one again, previous skull, 51.18, right? Obviously not magic frame. This one is just, you know, the skull that didn't need to be frame perfect. 51.18. And then go all the way to the next skull, which is 57. Okay, watch this. 57.16, ability is not activated. Chain Moabs are alive. Anti-balloon is down. Right, so pay attention to this. 57.16, I activate the ability, because it's not active right now. 57.18, first frame of the ability, but Lich doesn't take damage. So by all means, it meets all the criteria to be a magic frame, but it doesn't. So when CJam tested this before on the Quarry week, he said that from his testing, even when he got the timing down, it didn't magic frame, so he just didn't test any further. I think maybe this is what he experienced, and maybe after experiencing this, he just, you know, didn't want to waste any more time and just moved on. I think this is probably what happened to him. And initially I thought it was a Chain Moab thing, but it makes more sense for this to be a Tech Terror / Anti-Balloon thing, because one, obviously CJam experienced this before, I'm assuming, and at that time I don't think anyone was testing Chain Moabs yet. And two, later on in the run where I was using Engigon turrets for tier 3 to 5, I never experienced this type of RNG. This is only for Tech Terror / Anti-Balloon, where it can just miss a magic frame for no reason. Again, I don't know why. Ninja Kiwi spaghetti code, I guess. I just like to think that it's RNG, but someone suggested the idea that maybe BTD6 doesn't run on 60 FPS and there's subframes. But that's really hard to confirm, and again, I'm not gonna spend 23 more hours testing whether subframes are in the game or not. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I think it's RNG, but yeah, that's just a random way to lose a magic frame. So I think that's all I have to talk about on tier 2. Yeah, so 4 magic frames on tier 2 definitely is possible, but it is unbelievably hard timing, and considering the RNG, it's just too much for me to handle. I would love to see someone else do it though. If anyone else can do it, please show me. This is what I dream of seeing. So let's go back to the other video. Tiers 3 to 5 has nothing too interesting. It's just, again, with using the Chain Moabs. But this I already talked about a lot in tier 2. Let me see. Let me just run through. Oh yeah. Okay, so I used Temple Sack. Initially from my testing, the reason that I used Temple Sack in my run was when I tested in Sandbox, I could not magic frame if I sold the Engigon turret. I don't know why, because if I pull up CJam's run, 36.60, he sells his Engigon turret and he is still able to magic frame. So I think maybe this is another one of those stupid Ninja Kiwi spaghetti code things where 2 people test the same thing and get different results. I don't know. But yeah, I was not able to get magic frame with selling turrets, so I just used Temple Sack. To me, it made sense at the time because my reasoning was, oh, maybe, you know, if it has a heal tick on the same frame as the magic frame would get overrun. I don't know. But yeah, that's why I use Temple Sack, in case you're wondering. but from CJam's run, it's evident that you don't need it. But yeah, stalling here is quite helpful. Not so much on tier 3, but tier 5 it's very helpful, and tier 4 I theorize that it is also very helpful, and I'll talk about why later. But yeah, anyways, first 4 skulls are all completely normal, nothing interesting. But yeah, okay, so this skull, you know, have chain Moabs alive. You know, I sold a lot of the mini turrets because the mini turrets do quite a scary amount of damage. You have to make sure chain Moabs are alive, obviously. Yeah, and then as you can see, I targeted, this is more of a tip, this is nothing new. And obviously everyone can figure this out for themselves, but just a random tip, I just aimed the Engigon turret up here to kill the Moabs early on to make sure that the chain Moabs actually spawn, because, you know, if it doesn't die, obviously chain Moabs can't spawn. So yeah, anyways, my target right now is 39.30, so I have to temple sack, or I have to bring up the temple sack menu at 37.28. Temple sacking, the damage gets delayed by 2 seconds plus 1 frame from whatever this displays, because again, technically it's only 2 seconds, but the game needs to take 1 extra frame to register. This is one thing that you always have to keep in mind, and this is kind of getting into how frames work in BTD6, which I won't go too deep, but yeah, BTD6 always, for most things, will take a frame to register it. For example, you know, the game registering Lich taking damage takes a frame, takes an extra frame. You know, the game registering you temple sacking takes a frame. So all of these, it has to be 1 frame earlier. But yeah, so, you know, this is just a temple sack. And then, you know, sell the temple, get another one, make sure chain Moabs are alive again, and then place down another NG turret. This is pretty straightforward at this point. I'm gonna go to tier 4. So tier 4 is interesting because round 100 for bosses has DDTs spawn instead. So, you know, tier 3 and tier 5 in my run, I got 2 magic frames each. Tier 4, I only got 1 magic frame because I didn't want to, you know, waste 5 hours figuring out how to stall the DDTs, because 1, they die super easily, and 2, they're fast as fuck. So I just was like, I'm not gonna deal with this. But I think theoretically you might be able to stall the DDTs enough to magic frame with them, and if that is the case, I think you can get 2 magic frames on this as well. I only got 1 because I used a Lich Soul. So yeah, as you can see, nothing spawning right now. It doesn't help that I have the big trap at the front. On tier 3, I targeted the big trap here so it doesn't eat up the blimps. In case you didn't know, if big trap eats up the blimps, it won't spawn chained blimps when Lich hits a skull. So you have to make sure big trap isn't there. But oh, I guess it doesn't have camo or something. But yeah, as you can see, DDTs are very fast, very hard to stall. Let me just see. Yeah, it hits a frame. DDT is already all the way over here. The range for the turrets are not very big. It's like this big or something. I tested this, but I don't remember the exact radius, but it pretty much goes maybe like up to here. So once DDT's like past that area, it's just not gonna work anymore. So you have to stall it all the way back here, and you also have to make sure they don't take enough damage. It's just so much effort. And for me, I placed Engigon down here. So, you know, if they even get to this corner, Engigon will shoot. So you have to like go crazy with like the Mo presses and the Balloon Crush probably. And the Grand Sabo, I'm not Grand Sabo, and the normal Sabo and all that. Yeah, so this one, I just didn't bother trying to spend 5 hours figuring out how to solve the DDTs. I'd already had top 1 at this point, so I didn't care too much. But yeah, anyways, this skull, pretty straightforward. I just got a Lich Soul to spawn, by selling the turret 6 frames early, and then yeah, my target was 221.41, so I bring up the tempo stack menu at 219.40, and then it kills the Lich Soul as well as Lich, which is exactly what you want. Yeah, so that was one magic frame. And then tier 5 is the same concept as tier 3 pretty much, but you know, of course I added a bit more stalling because things are a little bit faster. And then this is yet another tip, which is getting some monkey pirates. I'll explain why once we get there. Okay, so the reason why, because obviously chain mobs are spawning here all the fucking time, so why don't you get more than 2 magic frames on this tier? Because I only got 2 at the very end. And the reason is because besides the green turret, which you can target, the other 2 turrets do an insane amount of damage. They pretty much will kill the chain blimps in like 2 shots. And you have to stall them for 6 seconds somehow. It's just not realistic. So, you know, if you noticed at the beginning, so this goes for all the tiers, tier 3, 4, and 5. I made it so my Engigon starts out by throwing a red turret, as you can see down here. Reason is because if you start it with a red turret, that'll make sure that the last 2 turrets are both green. And if the last 2 turrets are both green, you pretty much don't have to worry about things dying at all. So that just made things a little bit easier for me. In C-Jam's run, I don't think he worried about that, but he was fine because, you know, he just placed the blue turret down and immediately sold it. Which is like pretty much the same thing. Yeah, but I just, you know, they fixed the bug where if you exit out, it goes back to the green turret. So yeah, there's no reason not to do this, I guess. But yeah, so as you can see, you know, I sell this red turret, spawns all these chain mobs, and they just like die because of the blue one. So there's not too much you can do. This week had no cooldown reduction, but if there is, like, you know, maybe if we get another week like the logs or quarry week where there's 60% cooldown reduction, and with the new engineer, and with the new Paragon feature where you can get degree 100 or at least 80 very easily, I think cooldown would definitely be low enough to where you don't have to pre-place any turrets down at all. You can just, you know, throw them down whenever you need to and insta-sell them. If that's the case, I think you can get 4 or 5 magic frames for tier 5. I think maybe 4 for tier 3, and maybe like, I don't know, 3 or 4 for tier 4. You know, you can get like a Ray of Doom targeted up here to kill these, but not chain mobs when they spawn down there or something. I don't know. It's map dependent as well. But yeah, cooldown matters. Unfortunately, this week had no cooldown reduction, or last week. Yeah, so let me explain why I had the boats. Was it here that I used the abilities? No, not yet. Okay, so basically, as I said during tier 4, I think, the blast radius for the Engigon turrets are quite small in comparison to Tech Terror and Anti-Balloon, obviously. They only go like maybe in like this radius or so. So stuff up here, all the way up here, like maybe under where the ZOMG is, they won't get hit by the turrets, and they won't die. And they have to die if you want a magic frame. And if Lich spawns chain BFBs, which right here you can see it does, since it doesn't have a skin, if it spawns chain BFBs, and the chain BFBs are obviously slower than the chain mobs, and they're all the way up here, they won't die to the turrets. Now of course you can put the turrets on the water with like an Arctic wind, but you know, then it becomes a problem. What if the Moabs end up reaching all the way down here? You know, it's either way, it's a problem. So I just used boats to hook in the chain BFBs, and it fixed the problem. You know, yeah, as you can see, this one, the hook in was a skinned one, so this one wasn't a chained BFB. But yeah, I just got 2 for backup just in case. But yeah, after this is just, it's straightforward. It's the same as tier 3. Just temple sack, and then yeah, here I got another temple instead of selling this one, because if you sell temple, Lich actually heals too much to where one turret doesn't do enough to kill a skull anymore. I found that out the hard way. I found that out on one of my runs where I got 2 magic frames, except the last one wasn't a magic frame because Lich didn't even die because I sold temple. So yeah, I found that out the hard way. But yeah, and then just temple sack the last one. The target time was 257.51, so bring up the menu at 255.50, and then yeah, just sack it, and then that's it. Yeah, that's about it. And then yeah, and then you just end the round like any boss. Yeah, here you can see my stats. This is like, I didn't realize how high these stats were until I looked at other people's runs, but I guess this is what happens when you have a 23-hour run. I have 2,175 towers placed and 2,700 ability zoos. For reference, let me see C-Jam's run. God damn, yeah. For reference, C-Jam's run had 219 towers placed, while I had 2,175. Need 576 abilities used, while I had 2,698. So, pretty big difference. Obviously, his run was, you know, shorter because he didn't spend 13 hours on tier 2. I think the reason why my towers placed is such an extreme amount higher is just because of tier 2. Because I retried tier 2 a lot, you know. I failed on the first skull a lot, and then I would just insta restart and then place down like 5 towers, and then I did that a couple hundred times. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say for this video. If I forgot anything, I'll like put it in the description, or I'll pin a comment. But I think I talked about everything. That's pretty much everything new, and also a few tips, I guess. But yeah, that's about it. See ya.